Alright, first off, I want to give a big thank you to the Coalition for giving me early access to Gears of War Reloaded. I actually really appreciate this opportunity to play it ahead of launch. It's always exciting to experience a game early, especially one I've been looking forward to for a long time. That said, I also have to be completely honest because I'm going to share my raw, unfiltered first impressions. Now, just to clarify, I don't usually spend most of my time in the campaign. I love the campaigns, they're a huge part of why I fell in love with Gears, but the majority of my time is spent in multiplayer. That's where I grind, compete, and hang out with my friends. With early access though, multiplayer wasn't really an option because not many other people had codes just yet. So naturally, I ended up diving into the campaign instead. And I did a lot. And honestly, I'm glad I did, because it gave me a chance to focus fully on the story, the levels, and what's new, or, in some cases, what hasn't changed. That said, it's a mixed bag. Some things really hit the mark, like the visual upgrades and the core gameplay, while other aspects like cutscenes, AI quirks, and crashes left me a bit disappointed. It's a reminder that this is very much a visual-focused remaster rather than a full overhaul of the campaign experience. In this video, I'm going to walk you through my full experience with the campaign, breaking down gameplay, visuals, cutscenes, AI, audio, and my overall impressions. My goal is to give you a clear picture of what it's actually like to play Reloaded purely for the story, so that you can know what to expect if you decide to jump in yourself. Whether you're a longtime fan or just curious about the single player experience, I want to share everything I noticed while playing start to finish. Let's start with gameplay, because that's the heart of the campaign. Right away, I can say the campaign feels solid and satisfying. The movement is tight, cover mechanics work exactly how you expect, and the gameplay has the weight and impact that makes Gears combat so engaging. Every firefight, grenade toss, and roll behind cover feels very meaningful, and the pacing of encounters keeps you on edge. It's exactly what you want from a Gears campaign: intense, cinematic combat that doesn't let up. That said, if you played the Ultimate Edition, you're going to notice that nothing has really changed mechanically. The weapons behave the same, enemies act the same, and the pacing is identical. That's both comforting and a little underwhelming. It's comforting because the core gameplay is still as fun and reliable as ever, and that's a big part of why the campaign holds up still to this day. But it is underwhelming if you are hoping for subtle improvements or modernized tweaks to make the experience feel fresh. Despite that, the campaign still delivers in all the iconic ways we remember. Running through Locust tunnels or battling through massive firefights still hits hard. The tension is there, the action is cinematic, and the gameplay loops are still satisfying as hell. You can feel why this campaign has remained memorable for so long. At the same time though, it's hard to ignore that nothing beyond the visuals has changed. The AI quirks, the same enemy behaviors, and the pacing remain the same. For longtime fans, that's fine. It's the Gears we all know and we love. But for anyone expecting some improvements or modern enhancements, it may feel a little stale. Ultimately, the gameplay is solid, fun, and familiar. It works exactly as intended, even if it's not revolutionary. This is honestly where Reloaded shines. The visual upgrades are immediately noticeable and impressive. Shadows behave correctly, and textures are far more detailed. Walking through familiar environments, I started noticing things I hadn't seen in previous versions. The cracks in the walls, dust in the air, reflections on armor, debris in battlefields. Those details make the world feel lived in and immersive in a way that Ultimate Edition couldn't quite capture yet. Character models have also improved a noticeable upgrade. Facial expressions are much more clear, armor and weapon details pop, and characters feel more defined. Environmental storytelling is enhanced because you can see the details that were previously blurred or flat. Every familiar level suddenly feels fresh, and moments that were already cinematic now look much more polished. But with that being said, it's important to remember that these upgrades are visual only. Gameplay hasn't changed, the pacing is identical, and the cutscenes still suffer from frame rate issues, which can slightly break the immersion. The campaign itself hasn't been reworked in any way, so it's really a visual refresh rather than a full evolution. Even so, the visual improvements are impactful. They elevate classic set pieces, make characters and environments feel more alive, and add a layer of polish that makes revisiting the campaign exciting. You get to enjoy the story in a sharper, more immersive way, even if the other systems haven't changed. For anyone who values visuals, Reloaded succeeds in making the campaign feel beautiful and alive without altering the core gameplay we already know. Okay, now the cutscenes are one of the most important parts of the campaign, and in Reloaded, this is both impressive and frustrating. On one hand, the upgraded textures and lighting make cutscenes look sharper and more detailed than ever before. Characters' faces are clearer, the environments feel richer, and small details you might have missed before are suddenly noticeable. It's visually rewarding to revisit the classic story moments in this new fidelity. On the other hand, the cutscenes still feel like they're locked at 30 frames per second, and there are some jittery moments throughout. As someone who records gameplay, this is something noticeable and frustrating. You want to capture cinematic moments smoothly, but the frame rate issues and occasional jitter make it a little challenging. It's not game-breaking by any sort, but it does stand out, and it's a reminder that the engine itself hasn't been upgraded. This is purely a visual remaster. Even with these limitations, the cutscenes still convey the story effectively. Emotional beats land, the tension is present, and iconic moments still feel memorable. The upgraded visuals just make those moments prettier and easier to appreciate. You notice more subtleties in character animation and environmental storytelling that were less obvious before. So it's a mixed experience. The cutscenes are more visually appealing, but performance quirks remain. Watching or recording them requires patience, and while they don't ruin the campaign, they are noticeable if you pay attention. Overall, the story still hits, the cinematics still work, and the upgraded visuals make revisiting the campaign feel satisfying, even if it's not perfect. Next, let's talk about AI, because it's a big part of how the campaign feels. Your companions, especially Dom, are supposed to support you, but his behavior hasn't really changed from the Ultimate Edition. He can get stuck on the environment, freeze mid-action, or wander off at the worst possible moments. This is particularly noticeable during the first Berserker fight, where momentum is crucial, and Dom getting stuck in the way is fucking pissing me off. This doesn't ruin my experience, but when you're focusing on the campaign and trying to record it, it's hard to ignore. The first Berserker fight is meant to be intense and cinematic, but when Dom and his wide ass destroys momentum by getting caught on something or lagging behind, it makes progressing through these sections feel like a chore rather than a thrill. You're forced to work around him or wait for him to finally move, which pulls you out of the immersion and interrupts the pacing of the fight. That said, the AI isn't completely broken. Most of the time, companions still do their job, and you can complete missions and enjoy combat without being completely hindered. For solo players, the impact is minimal. You can focus on your own gameplay without worrying too much about AI mishaps. Ultimately though, Dom's behavior is just another reminder that Reloaded is a visual-focused remaster rather than a full overhaul of the campaign. The AI quirks are the same as before, and for longtime fans, they feel familiar. They don't completely ruin the campaign, but they can make certain fights, especially the early ones like the Berserker encounter, drag longer than necessary. It's frustrating, but it's part of the experience if you're revisiting the campaign in this version. Okay, now let's talk about the audio, because Gears has always been known for its immersive sound design. Reloaded continues that tradition with some really strong improvements. Gunfire feels weighty, explosions hit hard, and environmental sounds like crumbling debris, machinery, and distant gunfire make the world feel more alive. It's the kind of audio that pulls you into the action and makes you feel like you're actually on the battlefield. That said, there are a few quirks. Footsteps indoors, especially on wooden surfaces, are extremely loud, and the echo in certain areas can feel over-exaggerated. It's immersive, but sometimes it's a little distracting, especially if you're focusing on the story or trying to record the gameplay. Some sounds also don't balance perfectly with dialogue, which can make cutscenes or mission briefings feel a little off at times. Even with those minor issues, the audio is still one of the highlights of the campaign. It contributes massively to the signature Gears atmosphere, the chaos of battle, the tension in quieter moments, and the sense of scale in bigger set pieces. Reloaded keeps that feeling intact, and the upgraded visuals just enhance that further. You notice more when explosions shake the environment or gunfire ricochets off metal and walls, making combat feel even more visceral. Ultimately, the audio in Reloaded complements the gameplay and visuals very well. There are some inconsistencies, but they're minor in the grand scheme of things. The campaign still feels alive, intense, and cinematic. For fans revisiting these missions, the combination of upgraded visuals and strong audio makes the experience immersive and satisfying, even if a few sounds are a little over the top or inconsistent. It's another reminder that while this is a remaster, the core feel of Gears remains intact. So wrapping this all up, what's the overall take on Gears of War Reloaded's campaign? I want to reiterate my gratitude to the Coalition for providing me an early access code. It's always a privilege to play a game ahead of release, and I genuinely appreciate the opportunity. But that said, I have to be honest about my experience. The campaign looks amazing. The lighting, the textures, the environmental details make revisiting these missions feel fresh, even though the gameplay and story remain unchanged. Combat still feels solid, intense, and satisfying, and the cutscenes, despite some frame rate and jitter issues, still hit emotionally. The audio enhances the immersion, making battles feel chaotic and alive. These aspects really helped make the experience worthwhile. That said, there are a few frustrations I didn't have in Ultimate Edition. My UE playthroughs never froze, but in Reloaded the game has crashed 2 or 3 times, even though I've only played through the campaign twice, which isn't a big issue, but it's kind of disappointing for a remaster, especially considering the long wait and the expectation that it would run smoother than before. Combined with Dom's AI issues and the cutscene framerate problems, it's clear that not everything was improved. Overall, the campaign is still a joy. It's familiar, polished, and still holds up as one of the most memorable Gears experiences. The story lands, the action is engaging, and the visuals make it exciting to replay. It's not perfect, and it won't feel revolutionary if you've played the Ultimate Edition, but it's still a solid, enjoyable way to relive one of the best campaigns in gaming. If you'd like to see more content like this, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more uploads. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.